Hi, my name is Stephen. Some of you might know me by Wolfie from Twitch and stuff like that. Um, I, I don't know, I'm nervous about making this video. I don't know why, because everyone in my life knows. I suppose it's the first time I've sat down and said it openly on the internet. I do say it on my Twitch quite a lot, but I've never sat down and kind of explained where I went, what happened, and what's been going on in my life for the last 13 years. But yeah, hi, my name's Stephen. I'm an alcoholic and I'm an addict, and I've been in recovery for just a little over a year now. And I thought I'd share my story. I suppose the best place to start is my sober date is the 1st of the 1st, 2023. Not that that means anything, but that's when I decided to get sober, and that's where my sobriety journey started. I will kind of explain how I got sober, what I did, where I went, and stuff like that. But I suppose before I get to that, kind of a backstory to like what my addictions were, the struggles I've had over the last 13 years, and stuff like that. I don't know why, but I feel nervous talking about this. When I'm in meetings, I talk about it. I won't very much go into too much detail in regards to the fellowship I'm in or anything like that, or kind of the stuff we do. If you are struggling with addiction, reach out. I'm happy to help. But there is fellowships there to help you. I will just kind of be talking about my story and like what it was like, and I'm not here to glorify war stories or anything like that, but I'm hoping that someone watching this video might get something from it, or reach out for help, whether it's to me or someone else, or to one of the services. But yeah, so approximately 13 years ago was when I would have seen that I had issues with alcohol and drugs. I could tell you every drug I've taken. There's no point. Addiction is addiction. A substance is a substance. It doesn't matter what I took, what I didn't take. But my struggles were with alcohol, drugs, food, and sex. So I would have seen when I was around the age of 17. I'm now turning 29, which I did not think I was going to make it to this age. But thankfully, I've got where I am, and I'm sober, and I have my life back on track and where I want it to be. And it's slow, and it's happening, and I gotta do it at my own pace and what the universe is telling me. But yeah, I suppose 13 years ago I would have realised that I didn't have a grasp or a handle on substances that I was taking. So whether that was alcohol or the drugs, or how I was treating myself in a manner of like related to sex and stuff like that. I've always had ongoing food issues. That kind of pertains to my childhood and stuff, and just in regards to food and just things that happened when I was younger, and I didn't have a lot of control when I was younger, just due to family situations and stuff like that. I felt like the only thing I could control as a kid was my food, which inherently, I suppose over the years, I didn't realise that it was an eating disorder, because I was like, well, I don't have any disorder, I just like working out. But then you realise when you work out for 5 hours and you're on a juice diet at a really young age, when you look back on it, hindsight is amazing. I can look back and say, yes, that is clearly an issue with food, and I know what it stems from. I've went through a lot of therapy and stuff like that to work through all of the above, and that's part of my journey, and will continue to be part of my journey, and I have a sponsor and stuff like that. But I would have had my first drink at, I'm going to say 11 or 12, as most people in my generation did. Started drinking early. I'm from the countryside. It's not that it was a done thing, and I hate to say that, but it wasn't frowned upon. It was. My parents didn't want me drinking. I'm going to make that blatantly obvious. My parents did not okay me drinking. I did it behind their backs, but you went to a field, you went to your friend's house, you went to your cousin's house, you would rob drink from your older siblings, cousins, family members, friends, whichever you could. I also started smoking back then as well, which I'm still trying to kick, but one thing at a time. I have kicked several addictions. The smoking is something that we're working on. But I seen back then, I suppose from being in my fellowship now and like doing the meetings I do and stuff like that, a lot of people talk about the first time they ever had a drink, and how I suppose I realised that I was different to others was when I took that first mouthful at 12. It quietened down the voices in my head, and I was like, oh, I like this, and I wanted more. And when I was told no, I just couldn't deal with that, and had to deal with it because I was 12 at the time. But that snowballed the older I got. I came out. my parents' marriage broke down. I was struggling with my sexuality, just living in a small town. There was a lot going on. I suffered with mental health, have done all my life, and more than likely will for the rest of my life. There was so much going on that up here was very loud, and how I found solace is drinking. I would have started taking drugs a little bit later, but we're talking like 15, 16, 17. I did get hospitalized at one point during all of this because of the stress that was going on in my personal life and how my brain and body were dealing with that. I ended up developing like severe migraines, and I was hospitalized like in 5th year due to that because I kept collapsing and blacking out and stuff like that. Obviously the intake of alcohol that I was having at that time didn't help either. But I kind of seen the red lights. I seen the red flags. I seen it all coming. But I suppose when you're 16 and 17 and 18, you don't really realize that, like, you know, depending on a substance to make you feel better or like make you, you know, one of the gang or seem cool. I was doing it for all them reasons, but like the main reason behind it was because it was shutting up the voices in my head, and like it was I could be calm, and I was one of the gang, and I was funny, and I was all of these things before the alcohol and the drugs. But I suppose when you're at that age when your frontal cortex is still like, you know, becoming and growing and understanding, and when you put substances into it like that, and it gives you that kind of fuzzy feeling and that nice feeling, and kind of your inhibitions flow, that's all real cool. But to me, that was something I wanted every day. I had a overdose in the year of my leaving cert. It was the day before my maths exam of my leaving cert. It is a running joke with my friends that I did fail the maths part of my leaving cert, but that is because I was in A&E 12 hours before that exam because I'd overdosed on a cocktail of prescription drugs and alcohol. My brother found me, and I forever am in debt to him for that. When I injured my knee, I didn't think that I had an issue, but I became addicted to prescription painkillers. So that was at like 15 or 16. So it started really young for me. The doctors took them off me. I went cold turkey and all that, and I never thought of it later in life. I just like, I have to be careful about taking them. And that's kind of like the start of my journey. I mean, in the formative years of like what I was doing. I would have been drinking every weekend during the leaving cert. I was drinking. My friends were very confused. I didn't really care about education and stuff like that. That's nothing to do with my my addiction or anything. But I was always the one that was out. I was always the one that was drinking. I was always the one that had drink. I was always the one that knew there was a party or knew someone who could get stuff. I was the go-to guy. Which looking back on, I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I had so many friends. And now as a near 30-year-old, I'm like, oh, okay. Makes sense why none of them are around. Then when I was 21, I travelled to move in with an ex that I'm no longer with. In between of the ages of 18 to 21, I had found drugs. They were very easy accessible in my area. Friends would have them, I would buy them. It was fun. That's where I kind of would have realised, now looking back, where I had the issues with sex, because of things that happened to me in my past, and because of someone that I was with when I was 17, 18, I didn't have respect for myself. I was sexually assaulted by someone in my life between the ages of 17 and 18. Now it wasn't the first and it won't be the last time it happened in my life, unfortunately. That's just part of my journey. But I had kind of lost respect for myself, my body, and what happened to me. So when I was partying, I became very promiscuous, and it was my badge of honour. And when later on, obviously when I went to rehab, I realised that was something that I had, like, I'd built up this bravado from it. But yeah, so that's kind of where I would have seen the kind of the addiction to sex and love, and the non-relationship with my body, or understanding that I deserved care and stuff like that. That's where that would have developed, and just obviously from my childhood then as well. Just never thinking I was good enough for anyone, not just my parents, but anyone in general. So that's kind of where that all stems from. So then at that time, I would have been drinking at least 4 or 5 nights of the week. I would go out really heavily at the weekend, take drugs, drink. I was working Monday to Friday and Saturday and Sunday, so I would be turning up to work hungover or still drunk or still high. So it was weird. It was strange. Looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I never did anything like that. I'm like, I'm sorry to the people that I served when I was probably still drunk. But I can't change that. It's in the past, and I have to allow myself to, like, you know, do better. Moving forward, then I moved in with said ex. There's things that's happened in that relationship that I don't think I'll ever publicly speak about. There was a lot of partying, and that's where I don't blame that person for my addiction or how hard it went. Things just became more accessible to me, and my lifestyle snowballed. I went from, as what people would call, functioning to non-functioning. I was drinking every day of the week. Had the hard drugs would have kind of came in kind of at the weekends, and then the weekends came into the midweek, and then COVID came along. I had moved from said place back to Dublin, where I am now based, and then COVID happened, and that's when the shit hit the fan, because even before COVID, I would be going to work, going to the bar, coming home, and within that space of time, I would have had 5 or 6 drinks in the bar. I would come home, have a 6-pack and maybe a litre of vodka or a bottle of wine. It was really depending on the evening and stuff like that. So my addiction had gone completely I was no longer manageable. Then COVID came. I was made unemployed, and shit hit the fan. I piled the weight on because my eating disorder decided to come back and was like, hey, you're not going to starve yourself, now you're going to overeat and eat your feelings. And then on top of that, obviously the amount of alcohol that I was drinking, I ballooned up to around 16, 17 stone, which obviously then my self-hatred of my body happened, and then it was crazy. Like, COVID is such a blur. I don't remember most of it because I was off my face on drugs or drunk. That relationship broke down, finally. It should have done many years before it did. And then I was trying to rebuild myself, and I tried to get sober. Over the years, I've tried to get sober. I want to make that point. It never lasted more than a couple of days, or maybe a week, or maybe a month. It never really lasted because I didn't have a support system in place. Not that my family weren't there to support me or didn't want to help me. In that relationship, it wasn't something that, if one of us would be sober, then the other one wasn't, and it was just always this back and forward. So it would never have worked in that situation. But once we had split, it was a very awkward living situation for nearly a year, and then I suppose within that year, I kind of got my life back together. I got employed, and everything was going great. And then that ex moved, which, you know, was great for both of us. And then I kind of let everything go. I'm still employed by said company. I'm very lucky. They've been quite supportive, as much as I think about them, them being assholes. We love corporate companies. Life got on top of me. I was working full time. I was living in this house by myself, and then a very good friend of mine moved in. There was just a lot going on in my personal life. A lot of my old demons had come up. A lot of shit that had happened in my childhood, issues, resentments from people of my past, things that had happened in that relationship. You know, how I viewed my body, and I just went hell for leather. I work for a very good job, so I was able to afford a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol, and still, you know, live where I live and, you know, afford the things I could try afford. But it came to a stage where my family were getting phone calls, you know, 3 and 4 times a night. That could be from 10 minutes to 6 hours on the phone, of me berating them, and just being an asshole, and also then scaring the shit out of them, telling them that I can't do this anymore. I don't have, obviously, a recording of that, but I do want to put in a video. So I recorded a video while in the grasps of addiction, and it breaks my heart looking back on it now, because all I want to do is like go through the screen and be like, oh my God, it's okay, Stephen. We get better. We do better. Because I was so broken and so tired. Like, it's not about me. This is not the poor me's. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I had a tough life. I chose drugs and alcohol because it helped me at the time, and I now know that it wasn't helping me. It was a 13 years of an absolute fucking mess. But I'm a better person for having gone through all that to now be able to help other people. But I'm going to play that video now. It breaks my heart watching it because I can see the pain in her, and like the one thing I know and remember from like looking at photos of when I was in addiction to like even the day after I left rehab was like, you can see a light in my eyes now, but in this video, like I'm dead on the inside. I'm trying to film a really real thing about me and my drink, and I can't because I've been so fake for so long. I've hidden so much. It's so hard for me to be real on camera, and it's really hard. If I say I'm someone that has a fucking addiction to alcohol, I do. I know I do. Do I want to get help with that? Kinda. I know. It's because of one part of my life that's normal that's left, and I don't do it anymore. Everything else is normal now. But being sober isn't fun. I'm not gonna lie. Being sober is not fun. I can't agree to being completely sober because I'm afraid of losing who I am when I'm drunk. But I much prefer sober Stephen. Do I need to be completely sober? No. Is it my family? Probably. It's a journey I'm on. I don't know if I need to be completely sober, if I just need to be sober enough to function as a human. Which also isn't a fucking idea, that I'd be sober enough to function as a human. Adult, I should be able to function without fucking alcohol. But I can't. Why can't I see that it's not okay? I can't blame my family or what's going on or what's happened or what's going on now. Been in that life for so fucking long. Drinking was okay. I can't control anymore. There's so much for me to get drunk anymore. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it anymore. I don't know if I want this to be used ever, but I've recorded it. And I've been honest. I don't know. I think it's a bit too real for me. Yeah, if I made you cry, I'm not paying for your therapy. I kind of want to make this a serious video, but also like it's me. I like to joke. Looking back on that video is quite tough because I can see like, kid me been broken as a young adult. That's only 4 or 5 years ago when I recorded that. Yeah, so like when it came to the end of my using and the end of before my addiction, I will always be an addict. I will always be an alcoholic. I'll always be someone who struggles with food, and I'll always be someone who struggles with sex and love addiction, because there's something that never leave you. I just didn't just put down the drink, and I didn't just put down the drugs, and it's gone now. I don't want to take them anymore. I don't need them anymore, but I do have to have a program in my life to remind me, like, why I don't, and that I need, what I call a higher power in my life. And whether you believe in God, which I don't, but I have my own beliefs and stuff like that. It's just something that you can hand over your day to and stuff like that. At the end of my using, which ended on the 31st of December 2022, within the time before that, actually, I had met my partner, who I now live with, who is the love of my life, and we have a dog together. Sometimes you might see Dan on my social media. I don't tend to post him a lot because he's mine, and he just doesn't like being on social media. But we have an amazing dog, so life does get better. We had a big fight. And I was just done with being the toxic, person who was broken and that was ruining everything. And we had a huge fight over Christmas that year, and then shit just hit the fan. I won't go into what happened or anything like that, but we're past it and we love each other and stuff like that. But it gave me the kick in the ass to like look at myself. I'm like, okay, are you this person? Are you that person that's going to try and make out something that like you caused to someone else? Dan will get what I mean with that, and so my family. But that kind of gave me the kick up the ass. So I went on a really long bender from Christmas Eve. I called into work. I was like, this happened, blah, blah, blah. And I was off. So I had stopped working on the 26th of December 2022, and I returned back to work in May of 2023. So I was off for quite a while. In that space, between the 26th and the 1st of January 2023, I went on a massive bender. People I know in addiction and that are now in recovery tend to say it's kind of their last hurrah. I very much did that. My parents had to come up to me. They thought I was dead. A lot happened over that time period. No one wanted me to be by myself. I refused to let anyone be around me. I do have a running joke with my brother that the night my mom and my brother unfortunately had to come to see me because they really thought I was going to kill myself, because I got to that place with my mind and what was happening in just my own will to live was gone and had been gone for years, and I was just at the end of my tether. I had got blackout drunk and took loads of drugs, and they were on the way up and they were so worried, and they were driving obviously speed limits and stuff like that. Even in my comatose state of what I'd taken and how much alcohol I drank, I unlocked my front door and had myself in the recovery position in bed, and my mum walked into the room, and I know she says this is one thing that will stay with her for the rest of her life, and I can't remove that and I can't change it, but I was in the bed and she looked like a corpse and I was white, and like she just ordered, "That's not my baby," which breaks my heart because I've put my family through so much. I said I was not going to get emotional in this video. I've put myself through a lot. I've put my partner through a lot. I've put my partner's family through a lot. And I'm just genuinely sorry for that. Because then people are still in my life. I'm very lucky. But yeah, the fact that my mother was so stressed and sleepless because of all that, and same with my dad, my brother, and everyone else in my life. It's hard sometimes thinking about it, but it's the thing that keeps me sober. So they come up with my mum. Obviously was heartbroken to see me in the state I was in, and my brother goes, "Well, look, he's in the recovery position," because me and my brother always like, "Oh, it's a stressful situation, let's make jokes because trauma." So we have a joke about that, but yeah. And then on New Year's Eve, I rang my mum and I was like, "I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to drink. I don't want to take drugs anymore. I hate the person it makes me, but I can't function without it." And that was when I got down on my hands and knees and kind of realised that I have an issue. I was very aware. I had told people for years that I was an alcoholic and I had drug issues, but I had never accepted the fact that I was an addict. And that night I did. And I don't remember January of 2023. I kind of remember February. I won't tell you how I got sober and the way I did it because it was very unhealthy. If you are looking just to get sober and you are someone who is like, as people say, a functioning alcoholic or anything like that. I was drinking daily, so it wasn't functioning. Let's be honest, I had no functions. I was a mess. You need medical support when you're detoxing from anything. I would never recommend detoxing by yourself. I did it stupidly and I could have died. I was very lucky to get a place in rehab. That was a 5-week in-house stay program. No contact to the outside world, no mobile phones. You had planned meals. You had counselling twice a day, and that was tough. But I needed it, and I learned a lot about myself, and was able to like kind of heal a lot of my old scars that had gone on. And I had to understand that, like, I couldn't blame the other people in my life for shit that had happened, because the only person that was hurting was me, even if that person had or hadn't apologised. And that was kind of the toughest part. I always say I went through 5 weeks of intense therapy, and made some very good friends in that program. And, some of them are still sober, unfortunately, some of them aren't. And that's unfortunately how it happens in recovery. I then left that and I started my meetings, and that's what I still do to this day. I am still in contact with the rehab that I went to. They do like a program for a year after it that I'm with, and I'm really finished that. But yeah, it was a long ass journey to get where I am. It's been 13 long years. Like, I would say that, like, obviously the first time I touched alcohol I was 12, so it's obviously a lot longer, but I've been in active addiction for the last 13 years, to the level obviously what I got to before I got sober. But I want to say I'm proud of myself. I did this. I got the help. I have supportive people around me that have helped me and pushed me, and been there for me in my time of need, and giving me the tough talks and stuff like that. But I'm proud of myself that I'm able to sit here today and say that I'm sober, and I have been for 1 year, 2 months, and however many 3 days, not counting. But I'm proud because I've never been sober this long. It's been tough, don't get me wrong. When you first get sober, it's the worst thing ever, because you're like, oh my god, how am I going to function? And then obviously you get the like really high highs. I'm like, oh my god, life's great. And then obviously I went into rehab, so like I was removed from the world for 5 weeks, so I was like, oh my god, I don't have to worry about anything other than like getting myself better, which like I would advise people to like get support, that you can do that, because recovery is not something that you can kind of just do on a whim. You need to like give yourself time to like do that. It's a lot. You're gonna have to deal with like old demons inside your head, thoughts, memories, stuff's gonna come up, feelings, and then I got a sponsor who is like the best person ever, and he brought me through the book, and I will forever be thankful for my sponsor. He's a great man, and I now am bringing people through the book as well. I go to meetings each week. There's AA, CA, NA. There's eating disorder ones as well. There's meetings out there for everyone. I will put some links in the description. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like I needed to make this video. Because I'm very open and honest about it, and I don't want to hide the fact that I'm an addict. I'm very proud to say that I've gone through the struggles I have. But yeah, if you want me to kind of talk more about it, or the supports that are out there, or what it's like living a sober life, I will most definitely do that if you would like it. But yeah, you will find me streaming on Twitch. I also stream here on YouTube now. Not very well, because I'm learning how to do it on YouTube, but I do still do things online. I just don't record my life every day for 2 years. What? Like, I don't get what, like, when I was 12 to 15, I thought that was a good idea. Apparently at the time I didn't need sleep. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you're struggling, just know you're not alone. There's someone out there. And to quote a famous film and an actor in it, even in the darkness, there's light if you just look for it. So you're not alone. There's a community of us out there. I just know I felt so lonely in my addiction. And now in my sobriety, I'm not. But yeah, I love you. If you're struggling, just reach out. Even if it's to me, a family friend, or the supports. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that shit, because I don't already do YouTube. But yeah, this is my outro. Goodbye.